What's up?
You.
How you feeling, man?
All right, man. Back one more time.
Branded podcast.
We're on a roll now.
Yeah, man. We have it. It's wild, man. It was hard to get people. Now we got people home, and we getting the Machiavellis. We got that Machiavelli 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We got the 25th Machiavelli coming out soon. We recording as often as humanly possible, and I think at this point we're gonna try to release 1 or 2 a week.
Yeah, I mean, we're
cool,
doing pretty good. People can't go anywhere, so we just digitally run up on them. We don't have an excuse. So, just putting things together, getting the conversations that we wanted to tell together. And the other thing is it gives us a wider range. So we were having conversations about, traveling to different cities and trying to have in-person conversations, because one of the things that Ronald and I care about is quality and quality audio and, quality in whatever we're putting out. So that was one of the things that was, preventing us from having more guests on. But now that we've found a way to get high quality audio and everybody not be in the same room, it's kind of opened things up for us.
Yeah, COVID cut off Black History Month, so I felt like it was racist.
I was going to say that's a little racist.
We had to come through and counter that energy with some positivity and stuff.
That is what Black people are good for, man.
Yeah, man.
Just thriving in bad situations.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think I did the last introduction. You know this person a little bit better than I do, so I feel like you should do the honors for this one.
Yeah. So this next guest is a former classmate. I'm a huge fan of his Twitter presence, his photography, and everything in between. Man, he's a all around good guy, and his story, I can't wait for him to tell it, because I think one of the parts that we try to do with this podcast is demystifying the creative process, because it's so weird, because a lot of the times you see somebody bummy and then you see you like taking fancy pictures with people. So we want to know the in between. How do people get from point A to point B? And I think this guy would be really good to tell this story.
How do you go from shooting local talent shows to taking pictures of Beyonce during the world tour type stuff, man?
Yeah,
people just go to those type of things overnight, and there's no explanation, and nobody understands how to do it. So I think it's good to kind of get those in between stories.
Yeah, man. So this is a cool guy, Tommie Battle, aka Boney Starks. What's up, man?
I hate when people go by my other name.
You hate it?
I'm trying to phase it out.
You get it out? I'm sorry, man.
No. It's my fault because I've made this thing a thing. But what's up, Ron? How you doing? What's up, Dante? How you doing? Man? Yes, no, I've been trying to switch over to Tommie on Twitter for like the last 5 years, and some troll is just sitting on it, not tweeting at all. I'm trying to get rid of Boney Stars. It's like that's like the old internet thing. But anyway, what's up, man? How you doing?
Iron Man is retired.
Yeah, exactly. I had my last movie. I went out, you know what I mean?
So you in New York, man. You raising a family in New York in the middle of COVID, man. How's it been going?
Bruh, it's I gotta say, we've been blessed to not need anything, to not, be sick. Nobody in the family, extended family back home in Maryland, Virginia, nobody's been sick. I'm a homebody as it is.
Mm-hmm.
So, I've been chilling in the crib for the last 2.5 months. I kind of want to go out a little bit more now, but, the only people that it's really affecting are like my youngest, who is 4, who, gets pissed off every time we tell him the playground's closed. But, you know what I'm saying? Like, the kids, I think they miss school, but, we've been blessed to really, not need and, have everything that we've needed. And, I'm glad we brought the van before we moved from Maryland up here, so we have a place to get around, because I truly think, if I had to take the train all the time, our chances of getting sick would have increased greatly. But, it's just been quiet, man. They're all out now. They're cleaning out the car. Mom made them get all their French fries, and can I cuss?
Yeah,
man.
Yeah. Mom made them get all their French fries and shit out the middle of the seat.
So you look like that was a freedom to you saying
it was, man. Because I was gonna go, and then my wife was like, if you're not gonna make it back in time, just stay home. So I was like, you know what? I can clean out the car all the time. Now you guys get to see what it's like.
All right, so what would you describe what you do?
So my 9 to 5, I work as digital media, social media producer for New York City Football Club, which is a Major League Soccer franchise in New York City. They play at Yankee Stadium, highest level of United States professional men's soccer. On the side, I freelance photography, I write, voiceover if I can. But the thing that keeps the food on the table is soccer. So I've been at that for 2 years now, and it's actually gone by pretty fast. I was just thinking, like, I've been in Brooklyn now going on 2 years in July, and time just flew, man. Just flew.
That's amazing. So I guess where was your start before you even got to that level? Like, what got you into photography, and was it something that you did as a child, or was it something that you just developed over time?
College. So Ron and I both went to Towson together, Towson University in Baltimore. I was heavy and still am heavy into sneakers. So a lot of the route to the path to my creativity kind of flows through the world of music, and it flows through the world of sneaker and sneaker collecting. And that comes from getting my father's digital camera. This was like this. Remember the big ass bulky Kodak digital cameras they had in the early 2000s?
Yeah.
When I moved out,
on the side?
yeah, with the big SD card on the side. You know what I'm saying? I that somehow landed in my boxes to come to Towson, and my father didn't know. And I started taking pictures of my sneakers, like my outfit of the day, new pickups, whatever, so I could post it on Nike Talk. And then from there, I started taking the camera upstairs because my man upstairs used to throw parties all the time in our apartment. So started taking pictures at the apartment, and then I would carry it with me when we went out, to the club or whatever, and just take pictures of friends having fun. And then from there, the photography kind of just turned into this thing where I bought a camera. I bought this Canon Rebel. I had developed like an early passion for it. I really had no idea what I was doing, but I just wanted my pictures of my shoes to look better. So I bought this Canon. And I met a guy at Towson who threw parties at clubs and straight up asked him if I could shoot clubs. I was a radio major. And at the time, I interned at a radio station, 92Q in Baltimore, Big Fat Morning Show. And it was wild because the very first day I got there, she was like, "Why do you want to go on the radio? It's dying."
Damn.
Very first day, fam. And so this was like
what year was this?
This was early 2007. This was like the fall of 2007. I want to say, yeah. And so he's like, radio's dying. I don't know what you're doing in here, but go help us out doing this. So go answer the phone. So I started doing that. I would bring my camera to the radio station if like a high profile guest was there. I started taking pictures at the club. My boys would throw parties. They slide me $100. I take pictures of nightlife in Baltimore. And that slowly evolved into, all of us love music for the most part and love hip hop. So I was like meeting these club owners and these promoters and saying like, take pictures of the next show that comes into town. So then 930 Club and Sonar in Baltimore and a few other spots would have these people come in, and I would just take my camera. So it it took steps. And I know that you guys said that in the beginning, people tell you how they got to this spot. And that's one of the things I always kind of understand is that when people tell you their success stories, they never tell you about all of the missteps and the mistakes and the trials and tribulations. And really, I think that all of the things that I kind of acquired through the years of being in school, working at the radio station, being told that I didn't have a voice for urban radio when I recorded a demo at the radio station. Yeah. That I didn't sound like I was from Baltimore. I didn't sound like I was from Maryland because I didn't, draw up my vowels or whatever, and my you know how they speak in Baltimore, Ron.
Sure.
It's like, I didn't sound like that. And I didn't think that, it would matter. When we were going through school, they would teach you how to speak and how to non-regionalize your words. So I was just taking everything that I knew. But you ultimately you realize that you wake up one day and 15 years later, I've been in this situation and I've been in this situation. I know how to deal with this and I know how to deal with that. But yeah, so I was at the radio station. I had gotten married like my last year of college, and my wife was already done. So I was going to school, then I was going to the radio station, then I was going to work all at the same time. And then my wife was pregnant, so radio had to get put on pause. Basically, at the end of my internship, I asked them if I could get a job because I was doing commercial spots. I was producing different things at the radio station, and I asked them if there was any future for me there. And basically, they told me, we could pay you $8 an hour to drive a van. But that's it. Yeah, you'd be on a street team. And, with a baby on the way, I just knew that wasn't an option. So at the time I was working at T-Mobile as well. I just started working there full time, got into the telecom industry. I was still taking pictures of shows at the time. My daughter was born. I started taking pictures of her, different family functions, and worked my way through there. And that was, the late aughts. So about 2008, 2009. I shot consistently for about 3 years. And then it was funny enough, it was at Trilectro in 2013 in DC. I was trying to get into the pit. There was mad photographers there. And I just had enough. I had enough. I quit. I was like, I'm not doing this shit anymore. Like, I'm tired of competing with these dudes who shoot and you never see anything from it. Like, you would see 15,000 photographers in a photo pit, but then when you would go online to search the results, you wouldn't see any work.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. So I remember when I met you, a couple things. You loved good sneakers. I love sneakers, but it was like the time right when baggy was becoming more slender.
Right.
And stuff wasn't baggy. And my stuff was still kind of baggy, and I was trying to get rid of the baggy. And you just kind of politely was like, yo, like this, shit's fitting closer.
Yeah.
Yeah. and another thing, I remember you introduced 3 pieces of music that blew my mind. Murs.
Yeah.
The first Ninth Wonder album.
Yeah.
And then you had this like unmarked album, and you were like, CeeLo is working with this producer Danger Mouse.
Yeah.
And they have this album that's coming out at some point. And the name of the group is Gnarls Barkley. And I was like, what? You played? I was like, what is this? My brain couldn't handle it. And the third, I can't remember what the third was, but I think it might have been another Murs album. So yeah, we came into Towson at a time. I specifically remember going to the first semester of classes, and our teacher was like, radio is dead.
Professor Armstrong?
Yes. And then you find out that the major that we're in ain't really about radio anymore. It's about sound engineering.
Yeah.
So we got in thinking we were going to do radio, and it was not it. And luckily I found a bunch of situations that I was able to do radio after I graduated, but man, this was not a way to start because everybody was telling you that the medium as a whole was dead. And it's cool that you found something that worked for you, man. So when did you start?
Before y'all go for it, I want to ask you both a question. So that's, I guess, 12, 13 years at this point. Mm-hmm. Do you guys consider radio to be dead based on what they told y'all?
Well, I guess you can answer that first, and then
I personally think like everything else, it evolved and it evolved into podcasting.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I did when I was in school was I was very, Ron said, you know, I was up on the music, but I tried to stay very current on what was happening digitally. Because one of the things that stuck out to me was that I had a professor tell me that information is always trying to be free, and not free in the sense of a monetary cost, but free in the hands of the people that consume it. Yeah. And so I would always be looking for what was happening. And I had early concepts and ideas of podcasts, not in the long form conversation that they are today, but you know, playing music, having online radio shows, you know, recording in my dorm room on my Mac, and you know, putting it out and learning where RSS feeds were going into. So I just think radio didn't die. You know, radio in the sense of how our parents knew it and how when we were small, yeah, it's gone. You know what I mean? But the idea of people in their cars, you know, on the morning drive or the afternoon drive, listening to their favorite person speak and convey what they think into their ears is still very, very prevalent. Yeah. In the form of podcasting and these playlists that get put out. It's just a different form. It's just like comedy. Like stand-up comedy might not be what it is 10 years from now because all the kids from Instagram and TikTok are doing stuff. They're still comedians.
Yeah.
Still comedians. Yeah. So it's just you just have to adjust, and that's what I think radio has kind of turned into.
Word. Yeah. So when we were in school together, we had these blocks of time that we can do radio shows. I had a music one. I would put like maybe 10 or so songs, and I called it the Tempo Tantrum. That used to go into the dorms of some of the students in Towson. I would get feedback, and then I decided to do a podcast in 2008. I started a podcast called the Tempo Tantrum in 2008. 12 years ago, I started a podcast, and it did pretty well.
Yeah.
But then there was like licensing. Once they figure out that like Tommie was saying, like information, once they figured out that you could put music in a long form, companies didn't want anything to do with that. So like iTunes started kicking stuff off. Word. And things like that. But I'd had talking podcasts for over 10 years. Like I've done it in one form or another. Telling people about it back then was insane.
It was difficult.
It was so real hard because there was no podcasting app. So it was very hard to imagine.
And playlists the way that they exist now didn't exist either, because that's kind of like an evolution of that.
It is, man. Being able to share playlists is the best thing that ever happened. I know that people have issues with Spotify and the payouts, but the ability to give someone a shared link and them to look at a succession of songs in the order that you put it in is fucking revolutionary.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So. Yeah, and Spotify was another thing, man. I was subscribing to Spotify in 2010 when it was like, you know, $3 a month. And I just knew I knew that it was switching. And you just have to be aware of that stuff as a creative. You have to stay current or stay ahead, because it's very easy, especially now with all of the ways that people are consuming information, that you can just fall behind. Yeah. And yeah, so that's really what it was. And for me, it's just about understanding that people are more, what's the word I'm looking for? Influenced by like what's on their phone.
Yeah.
And what app is moving. Like for me, I can say that for the first time in a long time, like I just don't care about TikTok. You know what I mean? So I
haven't downloaded it either. Yeah. So we're in the same boat.
Yeah, but for these other platforms, I've always just tried to stay abreast of what's going on, because if not, man, and I have young kids, like I don't want to have them be doing stuff on these apps and on these computers, and I'm not knowing what's going on and get surprised. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Back then, when Spotify first started, it was a UK only service. You would have to lie about where you live.
Mm-hmm.
That was crazy. You would have to lot. So I remember I I went there once, and I remember Piccadilly Circus. So I found an address that was on the main road, and I put that as my address on Spotify because they were very forward thinking, man.
Yeah.
The labels had gotten together at that point. Universal and all that had gotten together to just like, yeah, stream it, let it go.
Right.
But it was a real far-fetched thing in the US, man. So like if you had early access to it, you were lying about where you lived. You were a bloke over in London and shit.
Mm-hmm.
That was crazy. It's crazy to think about.
Yeah, because I remember that time, like, it was random, like, blogs, like Tumblr and things like that. People were sharing links from Spotify. I'm like, what is this website that people are just posting songs from? And it kind of just evolved from there. Like, I didn't use it heavy at that time. It was still kind of like that Pandora era. And Spotify kind of came along and started adding more things to it, so it built up. But that definitely was like the early days.
So, in terms of photography, when was the first time that you saw your photo in a place of merit to you, like a place that you valued? You were just like, oh, this is my picture. I took this, my angle. Where did you?
Nike Talk days.
Yeah, I mean, it was. I mean, so I had the thing about sneakers is that everybody wears them, and 9 times out of 10, there's a pair that somebody wants, even if they're not a collector. There's somebody that's like, there's a pair of black and red Air Maxes that I had when I was in the 6th grade. And so it's a common denominator to bring a lot of people around. And that's how I really got into it with the music folks, because the music folks and the fashion folks kind of intersect on the Venn diagram in a way.
Right.
And so the very first time that I had a placement that I was like, wow, was probably with the smoking section.
Oh man.
Yeah, with smoking section. Because the guy that ran smoking section was a guy, Gotti, and Gotti used to sell sneakers. So I'd always kept in touch with him through AOL Instant Messenger. And he asked me if I wanted to start writing for the smoking section and then using my credentials to take pictures. So I think I shot a Most Def show, a Most Def show, I think, in Baltimore in like 2008. And that was on the site. And then I was on Complex, early Complex. And I was also in Nowrite, Nowrite.com.
Okay.
Yeah, early on. And that was the first time I had gotten that bug of like, oh, it's people are looking at it outside of my inner circle.
That's really dope. I miss smoking section.
Yeah, man. Yeah, they're like what Up Rocks now. It's like a weird.
Yeah.
Got bought out. Yeah, it's nasty, man.
The Up Rocks network.
The Up Rocks network.
Like everything under that.
Yeah.
So you still have like your stuff from those days, or did they get like lost in space at this point?
So I have a lot of stuff. I used to use Flickr a lot. So I have a Flickr account that's basically like a time capsule from the first period of my photography. Because like I said, when I went to shoot that show at Trelectro and I was over it, I just put everything down. I stopped shooting. My camera was giving me issues at the time. I couldn't afford to buy another one. So I just stopped. And a lot of the photos, if not all of the photos, even the club stuff, are still on flickr.com/BoneyStars. And, you'll see stuff from 2007 up to maybe probably 2013, 14 of like random iPhone shots. But yeah, the bulk of my early work is still online and still available. I wish I still had like the raw files, just because I'm a lot better at editing now. And there's some memories of like my daughter from early years that I just can't get back. But for the most part, this stuff's still around.
That was going to be my next question. A lot of artists, as they go along in their career, they feel like they hate looking at their old work just because they've gotten so much better at this point. Do you have that feeling, or do you like go back and you have like that good nostalgic feeling when you look at your old work?
It's a mixture of both. It's more so like a a thought of, man, I really had no idea what I was doing.
Word.
I was kind of going off of instinct and going off the eye, as opposed to going off of like the technical aspects of photography. And that's something I really didn't learn until I started working here. Working with an actual photographer who has spent time like knowing how to use the camera to capture a moment and to really use the camera to control the photo, as opposed to using just the creative, because you can see it, but I might take a photo of you and it comes out slightly blurry, and that's just because I don't know how to use the camera the way it should be used. But now I can pretty much say, like, at a certain time of day, I can look out, see a light, stand here, adjust the camera to this, use this lens, so on and so forth. So that part of it is unlocked. But I don't have an issue with going back and looking at my old stuff, because really it's about the progress. And especially now, being able to show it off, like, hey, I can take this picture 10 years ago and look at it now and just see how much I've learned.
Word. Do you remember the first time that you were paid to take a photo, to take some photography?
It's probably with, I don't know if you remember Sean Breeze in Baltimore.
Yeah. Whoa. I haven't heard that name in a while.
Yeah, it was with Sean and them, Sean Breeze. Like I said, they paid me $100 to start shooting clubs. So I would go to Red Maple.
Oh,
I would go to a couple hood spots in Baltimore. Couple hood spots. But I was always a guy that I never drank, I never smoked. So I was kind of always on the straight and narrow when it came to that. And so I was always in and out of the clubs, shooting the good and the not so good people of Baltimore for a couple dollars, you know what I mean? And that was probably the first time. The first time I actually got a legitimate check from my work was probably last year.
Okay.
Like a considerable, wow. That was probably last year. So it's really been 10 years of on and off work, getting there. And even then I look at my shit from last year and I'm like, dog, I could do better than that now.
That's what's up. So that time from when you decided I'm not doing this anymore right now and put the camera down, what were you doing right after that?
So I moved on to AT&T. So I was working full time. I had just gotten complacent, and the one thing that I can say is that, like, I've got a wife who is always pushing me to do better. Like I had no interest in moving to New York. She'd always want to move here. She used to be a dancer. She'd always want to go to New York, and I was like, I'm good in Maryland. You know what I mean? I got this job. Like, I'm one of the last few people that made the pension cutoff. Like, I just settled, like, I'm going to be here. And so I was just, being a dad, being a husband, and working at AT&T. I would kind of stoke my creative juices by writing. I would do a little bit of writing work. Like I said, voiceover work. If AT&T had me doing basic graphic design, because I worked in a spot where basically I was the AV manager for a spot where all of the senators and finance people come into AT&T to get lobbied. So if Ronald came in and Ronald was a senator, I would put Ronald's face on the screen and put the American flag behind him, and AT&T welcomes. So that was kind of that was the extent of my creative stuff. But when we moved to New York, that's when everything changed. When everything changed.
That's pretty amazing, man. Because I remember we had seen each other kind of at that period. And you ever watch that? This is such a weird reference, man. You ever see that movie Hot Rod?
Hot Rod? No, I have not.
So there's Andy Samberg does this movie called Hot Rod. He used to be a stunt person, right? Mm-hmm. And he was like, I'm stop doing stunts. I'm not gonna do it. So he got a polo shirt. He put a tie on it. He's like, I'm a regular person. That's how I felt when I saw you, because I was like, yo, it bothered me because every time I saw you do something creative, it was like out of this world good. And I wasn't just saying that just because I knew you. I was like, this shit is great. So, but I also understand having to make money, man. You got a family.
Yeah.
balancing those two is a bitch. And
yeah.
So your wife was pretty adamant about the idea of going to New York and pursuing.
Well, yeah, I mean, like I said, she'd always want to move here. I was good. But see, my thing was, like you said, I was about making money and I couldn't find the money in it.
Mm-hmm.
And I wasn't trying to do anything out of the love. And like, I remember you used to bug me about doing my mixes and my podcasts and stuff like that. But I was like, I'm not making any money from it.
I felt like I was harassing you whenever we talk.
You were, but you were. And looking back, like, you were one of many people. And even to like my wife recently was like, you should do another mix. But you know, it was like one of those things where I just was so used to the cycle of work and home and work and home. It got to the point where she was telling me to go out. You know what I mean? She was like, you need to do stuff. So a few years ago, she had an opportunity up here, and originally she was really adamant. One of my daughter's friends, black family, moved to Costa Rica for like 6 months. So my wife was like, well, we should look into it, like go to Costa Rica for 6 months. It'd be a good experience for the kids, so on and so forth. But it was just, that would have been a lot. And an opportunity came up for her in New York. And I remember the thing that changed was we were sitting in a car, and as a kid, my dad was in the Navy. I traveled a lot. I lived in Italy for about 4 years.
Oh, wow.
And that made a big impression on me, you know, in terms of perspective and cultural identity, and, you know, even down to my blackness and, you know, what comes along with that in a foreign place.
Word.
And so we would talk about Italy a lot. And she just looked at me. I remember we were sitting in the car and she said, you know, you talk about Italy fondly every time you bring it up. You never bring it up in a negative way. And don't you think, you know, moving somewhere else would give our kids the opportunity to have that kind of memory? Ooh. And I was just like, damn, that was like real profound, you know? So she had this opportunity. I remember driving her up. She drove to New York on like a Thursday morning. She had an interview at 11 o'clock in Harlem. Drove from Maryland to Harlem in the morning. We sat outside and circled this block, this unknown block in Harlem, while she had her interview. She came out. She said she really loved it. And I knew then, I was like, in my head, I was like, we better start looking.
Right.
That was in probably February of 2018. And by July 2018, we were here. So, yeah, that was it, man. That was the whole process of like getting here and then finding a job or not being able to find a job. Like I couldn't find anything within the company that I was working for. So like I was fully prepared to start driving an Uber, you know, knock jokes, whatever I had to do, fam. You know what I'm saying? And at the last minute, like, you know, that's when Twitter comes in. And so like I was saying, like all the experiences and the people that you meet in your life, I had one day this guy that follows me on Twitter that I knew from a soccer group in DC was like, hey, New York City Football Club, I just saw them post an opening on their website. You should apply. And then 3 more people sent me the same thing. And then 3 more people sent me the same link. And they were like, oh, we know the guy that's hiring. So like I had 7 people. And by the time I got to my interview, I took the Peter Pan up there, the boat bus up there. And by the time I got up there, they were like, you're our most like recommended interview we've ever had.
Oh,
you know crazy. What I'm saying? And it's like, we know that you're into soccer. You know, we know that you have a huge presence online, and, you know, your reputation kind of precedes you. So, you know, by the time I walked out, I felt like I had gotten a job. And that was probably 2 weeks before we had to move. So it just all happened so fast. And, you know, that's where that chapter of my life started.
How did your internet presence start on Twitter? Because it's always been big. It's always been
Nike Talk. Nike Talk. I'm telling you, son, it's because I was on Nike Talk. I was on Nike Talk from 2002 So a lot of the people that moved over from the forum to this emerging platform called Twitter, they would open their account and they would follow the people that they knew from, the forums. And then it came, I have like I guess people would say a humor-based account where, I tell a lot of jokes and I keep current with pop culture and all that kind of shit. So um, that helped, and then the music helped, and then knowing movies and knowing music and being able to crack jokes and give references and having a massive gift collection from back on the forum days, like that just kind of grew the following. And I woke up with thousands of people following me. I still, like I said, when you introed me this morning, this interview, like the Boney Starks thing is kind of taking a life of its own. So, it's it got to the point where like we would be out and about and people would walk up to my wife and be like, "Are you Boney Stark's wife?" And I thought it was so cringy, fam.
That's crazy.
But like, dude, this is Twitter. Like I have people walk up to me like, "Yo, I follow you on Twitter." I'm just like, and they're like, "Oh, have a good one." I'm just like, "Yo, what's your name?" Like,
yeah, right.
I'm not I'm a regular dude. Like I drive a van. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like I see it as a way to get my inner thoughts out, to keep up with news and to keep up with current events. I don't really see it as trying to, grow in the clout, but it just kind of happened.
Word. And I think to that point that you just spoke about, I think it's something that most people are still trying to figure out. Like, we interact with these people and we actually get to know these people because we use social media daily and have these interactions. When you meet that person in real life or you bump into them and you haven't like planned that interaction, it's a weird conversation to have. Yeah. Like, hey, are you, such and such? I follow you online, and then going from there. But I think, well, Ronald, you talk about this often, online etiquette, and kind of creating some type of standard for people to do certain things online.
Yeah, it's wild, man. It was super shocking to me because I was like, I know him, and then I'd see like him corresponding with people. I was like, this person is like a famous person, a moderately famous person. I thought that was real cool. And what's neat about it is we come from a time where your social skills are there if somebody ever sees you out, and you could handle it. It translated pretty perfectly to Twitter. Like, it's not like you're a different person.
We're the last generation.
Oh man,
we're the last generation. And Dante, I don't know how old you are, but I'll be 37 this year, and we're the last generation of people who knew what life was like before the internet.
Right.
And that's a very special set of skills to have in terms of being personal with people.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because you had to, you had to get to the mall with your shirt on, looking nice, and sit there and fill out an application.
Yes.
There was no check and see if Hot Topic is hiring online and fill out the rec online. Like, you had to walk up and say, are you hiring? You had to walk up to a girl and ask for her phone number.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? You had to, if you had a friend that was at the basketball court, ask them where they lived and, ride bikes to their house or walk to their house and knock on the door and ask their mom if they could come out, or call their mom and have them pick up and say, "Hold on, Ronald, your friend's on the phone." Like,
or even go into the house to play video
go
games.
into the house. Exactly. There was even, like you said, even video games was personal. You know what I'm saying? You were tethered to the controller. There was no LAN. There was no there was no chat room, no group party, none of that. So that's where it really took that part of communicating, and then like being in radio, learning how to speak to people, learning the etiquette of don't say anything too crazy. And I know people online do it, but like, if there's a way to say that I don't like something without being totally insulting.
Right.
And I think that for me, a lot of people follow me because I'm able to speak my mind or ask questions about ridiculous shit or ridiculous behavior without coming off as crass and without coming off as being disrespectful to a group of people.
Right.
There's an art.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
There's definitely an art to it.
And
you know,
and people that don't understand that, they use it to hide behind it. Like, oh, well, this is how people talk online. This is, the way that, the standard. Yeah. Like, no, that doesn't have to be the case.
Yeah. Like when I ask white people, I'm like, what's up with you? And it's in a way that's like, y'all need to talk to your manager, because I don't, you know what I mean? And so being able to convey that kind of thought and the curiosity behind, the human interaction is a driving kind of influence for me.
And it's a boldness that comes with it. It's like you wouldn't talk to that person or any person that way if you sat in a room with them.
Right.
But because it's not a face-to-face interaction, you feel emboldened to speak a certain way.
Right.
Because the internet was real life back then, and you would say something, you like, you're gonna have to see that person tonight.
Right.
You said this thing, and then somebody told them. Anyway, also, you know what I was thinking about? What radio did was it made me really able to do stand up. Like once I started, because we come from that place where like interaction is key. I would host things, like I'd host a show, and then go from that to an open mic. Then I'd do a podcast, and then it was like all this stuff was happening in one place, in one night. Sometimes I would meet up with Dante. Sometimes in the middle of it, like it was like a lot of shit was happening, and all that came from practicing, being decent to people, being in these spaces where you had to deal with a lot of people that you don't know. Yeah. And it continues. It gets you get better at it. You get sharper at it. And I think you're really good at putting things into 130 characters.
Yeah,
I think it's crazy.
You
manage it in a way that I just, we Dante and I talk about tweets and shitty tweets. Like, there's just like a crassness to shitty tweets.
Yeah.
Like this could be said a lot more artfully. It's like, yo, this nigga dirty.
Right.
He look dirty. You like, that's not right. Compare him to something. What does he look like?
Exactly.
He look like right. He looked like my crackhead rug from when I was 9 years old. Like you just find a reference that just isn't, it's like, oh.
Yeah, it's about finding like universal references. If you want to be like mad specific and like drop down a super local reference, like if I wanted to talk about somebody from Baltimore, like bring up fucking the plaza, and like they'll just be like, oh, and they'd be like, oh, he's cool, you know what I'm saying? Or bring up, Patapsco or the flea market or something like that. And because you understand, it's like, as much as it's just the internet, it's also very personal to people.
It is, man.
If you're able to, like that, I've been so deep into the wormhole where I be joking around. I've been to LA once in my life, but I'll go into LA and I'll Google Maps. I'll Google Maps a road. I'll Google Maps a street in Compton, and like I know that I got somebody that lives in LA, and I'll be like, oh yeah, Florence Avenue, and they'd be like, yo, how you know about Florence Avenue? It's just funny to me. It's just funny. You know what I mean? I just understand, and not to be like boastful, but I think I understand funny enough to know when shit works and when shit doesn't.
Yeah. I mean, you have a future if you ever wanted to, man, and comedy writing, and I think you would be a really good stand-up. I think you got your tweets are jokes that you could perform on stage. Like they just are really. And that's kind of, I've been trying to balance that. Like sometimes I was trying to do that stuff on Twitter, but I write so much. Like I be trying to like do stuff on stage. You have jokes, man. Got some really that would kill.
Yeah, I've considered it. I've considered it. It's just that's a big leap, dog. It is. That's a big jump to just be standing there. I've been to the cellar. Like I don't know how they do it night in and night out. But you got to be made. You got to be cut from a different cloth to do that, man.
So I guess you getting that job, was that the first time you had picked up the camera back up, or like from
Yeah,
that gap?
yeah. I mean, I rented. So in the last maybe 5 years or so, I would rent a camera every now and then. Like if
Mm,
we had something important going on family wise. There's a couple websites that you can just rent equipment from,
yeah.
and I would pick one up every so often. And when I got the job here, it was primarily just for social. They needed ideas. They needed, an extra body in there because at the time they only had one person working in that department. And it's a pretty daunting task for a professional team to only have one social media guy. So
Word.
we had one social media guy, two videographers, and one photographer. And in a city like New York, in a sports franchise, that's just spreading it out way too thin. And so, I had always had like a basic knowledge base of like Adobe programs. So I just told him like, hey, if you need an extra hand shooting something, using video, it's kind of like the same principles. Let me know. And so they basically gave me a camera, and I would shoot events in the city for the team, shoot behind the scenes stuff, and that kind of just reignited that fire. And so July 2018, probably I would say it was around November or December. For us as a family, it was a really hard winter for us. That first New York winter
Word.
and that first New York spring. And, for me financially, it was like a little difficult. So I'm like, I got to do something. Like, I got to, I'm looking at other jobs, and I'm looking at, other things that I can do because it's just, it wasn't working. And we were frustrated and we were homesick. And I, um, I just looked at the camera again. I was like, here we go. You know, about to pick your ass up again,
Word.
put you to work. And so that that was when everything changed. That was when everything changed, at least creatively for me. Um, I started shooting every day, whether it was on my iPhone, whether it was taking a camera out. Uh, it went from me not really knowing my place on the team in terms of what I could do creatively to, hey, I know you guys shoot the game. I'll go into the stands, or I'll go outside the stadium before kickoff and I'll shoot people, because that's what I had been doing the whole time. When I was shooting clubs in Baltimore, I was taking pictures of people,
Right.
Yeah.
taking pictures of groups of people enjoying themselves. Um, being a fly on the wall, not necessarily waiting for a group or that woman to pose with her boyfriend, but actually taking a picture mid laugh or mid, celebration. So again, like I said, going back, like it was just the little skills that I had learned and I had picked up. And then there's another podcast called It's the Real. Two guys named Eric and Jeff Rosenthal, and they interview pretty high profile music and celebrities. And I realized like they just didn't have a really big digital presence outside of the podcast.
Right.
Like you don't see any images aside from the one they take with the guest after the interview. So I mulled over it for like a month, and then finally I just sent him a DM, and I was like, "Hey guys, I realize you don't take too many pictures. If you ever want me to come by, I know I'm a stranger, but we could set up a meeting and I could talk to you guys about some ideas." And the very first guest that they had was Trevor Noah, that I was sitting in on was Trevor Noah.
Wow.
So Trevor Noah's on the couch, 6 feet in front of me. I'm got a camera in his face, taking pictures, and they really liked it. And so I started dealing with them, and meeting Rick Ross and meeting all these rappers and kind of these people that you kind of look up to, the Jonathan Manyons, who is a famous photographer.
I ran into him once.
Yeah, like just meeting these people that you would hear about on TV or hear about on the radio, and meeting guys like the Locks and hanging out with them and them knowing my name, and like little shit like that has just been kind of surreal. But you know, it's like I said, it's all just, it's like Taken, that movie Taken. It's like I have a set of skills that I've acquired over time, fam.
Right.
You know, to not be in the way. And like one of the things I listened to was Chris Rock was on a podcast, and he was like, I've become really good at being out of the way.
Mm.
And as a photographer, sometimes you have to be in the way. But my thing has always been, you know, when I want to capture people, I feel like a pose is the least genuine reflection of that person's personality.
Right.
If I really want to capture you, I'm gonna sit in the corner and wait till Dante says something funny, and then watch the whole room light up. And then that's when I come in, click, 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 click. Because that's the natural laughter, that's the natural smile. If they're angry, that's the natural frown, the resting expressions, like all that stuff. So I've gotten really good at being able to, you know, sit in a room, get a good, you know, light, get a good angle, and just document. And that's where I am now. You know, being able to just understand that everybody's the same. And I think that social media puts this light on folks that makes you think that they're different. But you know, when I one of the first times I met Styles P, like he pulled up in this really nice car and he gets out and we're all like, yo, where'd you get this? And he's like, yo, it's leased, beloved. The lease, I got, you know, I got 6 more months on the lease, and it's like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Word.
these are normal people, and they want you to treat them normally, but they're so used to people like bowing to them that they behave differently. But as soon as you come at them on some real shit and like, you know, some real interpersonal stuff, it changes how you can get close to them, and it changes how you can portray them on camera or, you know, on screen or whatever you're trying to do.
Word. And I guess for you, it kind of brings what your initial, I guess, passion was, you know, being in the radio, being around these people. It kind of gives you that energy back to you, right?
Absolutely. I mean, and it like just being able to sit and have a conversation and not ask like the normal questions in that conversation, like what's it like to be a rapper? Like they don't want to hear that.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you know, I remember asking one of the guys from the Locks, like I read in an article back in, this stuck with me, but I was like, I remember reading in this article about a session that you had with Biggie Smalls, like you did this and he did that, and then like they sit and look at me like, how do I know this? And then it's like on some Nardwuar shit, you know,
Yeah.
where you can pull out this obscure thing. So,
Word.
you know, the love of that kind of helps, and knowing, you know, when to speak up, when to keep quiet, when to kind of chime in helps out a lot, especially in the podcast space. Because when someone's sitting there interviewing with a guest for 2 hours, to be able to fill in a blank if they're trying to grab something makes you very valuable.
Right.
That's dope.
So yeah, that's really the cool part. It really is. It's come full circle with everything that I've done.
How's your experience been with It's the Real, man? Like, I love that podcast. I've been following Jeff and Eric since they did the podcast with the rapper, dude from LA.
With Jensen,
yeah, Jensen Carp.
Yeah, the guy Jensen. Yeah, no, I've been following him too.
You know he married Topanga?
No, I didn't know that.
I remember you telling me that.
So he went to high school with Topanga, and he like reached out to her after not talking to her for like 15 years. They started chilling, and he kind of documented it on his podcast. He wound up marrying her. They have a kid together now.
Wow. Yeah, no, I've been following them since, because I forget the name of that podcast that they were on originally, but I was listening to that pod. Then they switched over to doing their own shit, and I would follow them and kind of interact online. They didn't really interact back, but whatever. Like, I get it. And like I said, I reached out to them via DM, and I think it was because I had posted something on Twitter and it got a little bit of traction, but it was for their podcast. And I sent them a message, and they were really inviting dudes from the jump. And that's the one thing I can say, like from the very beginning, they've been the same cats that I met a year ago, a year and a half ago. You know, in terms of being really understanding of the fact that, you know, I got 3 kids, that I live in Brooklyn and they live in the Upper West Side, that I have a full-time job, and like they've been really grateful. And I mean, they're 2 of the coolest, nicest guys that I've met, I could say in a long time. You know, good sense of humor, like, you know, they don't take stuff personally, or, you know, they just, the way that they come off on their podcast is exactly how they are in real life. Yeah, they're really smart, really quick dudes, very knowledgeable, and you know, they're very helpful. Like, you know, they try to put in a good word for me when they can, you know, to land more gigs. But yeah, it's been a really cool kind of relationship that we've had in the last few months, where, you know, we haven't seen each other, but, you know, we're still texting in the corona, you know, times of quarantine, and, you know, getting jokes off. And I can't wait to get back to work with them, and hopefully they got some stuff cooking up, because I know they were working really hard on a few things before everything shut down. But I hope that everything works out and they get back on their feet.
It's amazing, man.
My bad about the gap. It's like a weird. It's like a sound.
I thought your phone was ringing.
My bad about that. That's really
that's all right.
Yeah, the pictures are amazing. Like I see when they post them, and yo, I love that you're in a creative space, and the output's been really, really dope. So I guess as we wind down, man, we have this part where we just kind of ask about your favorite things.
Okay.
What are your favorite five favorite movies?
Oh, 5 favorite movies. Coming to America. Coming to America.
Are you excited about the new one?
I am excited about
Me
the
too.
new one.
Did you guys see the poster for it, the movie poster?
Yes.
Yeah, I saw it, but I thought that was fan made. That's not a fan made.
It looks like it is. I feel like it is.
I mean, look, it's Eddie Murphy, and I'll watch everything Eddie Murphy will make. I was watching Vampire in Brooklyn the other night. Like,
oh man, I cannot watch that movie. I love all his shit. I cannot watch Vampire in Brooklyn.
I was watching Bowfinger. Like, I watch Bowfinger. Like, I watch all that shit.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's see. Top 5 movies: Coming to America, Friday. Shit. Coming to America, Friday. Trying to go on the gamut, right? Malcolm X, Do the Right Thing, and oh man, a 5th one. I would say probably probably some Ernest Dickerson shots. So probably Juice. Juice. Okay. Juice and yeah, Juice.
Word. Do you have a favorite photograph or a favorite event that you shot, something that sticks out to you and something that stays close to home?
I mean, all the stuff that I've taken of my kids. I don't have a really favorite one. My wife and kid, yeah, anything I take of the family. I mean, you look at my photo collection, like I'm in 10% of them because I'm taking pictures of everybody.
Word.
So yeah, anything from when my children were young. In terms of professionally, I think that one of the best pictures I've ever taken was a photo of Janelle Monáe. I took this in probably 2011 at the Summer Spirit Festival in Columbia, in Maryland. And I just caught her mid-light whale, and you could just see it. You could see everything that she was giving up right there. And that was probably the best photo I've ever taken. I wish like I could say that I knew what I was doing technically, but I just knew that I had to take it from this spot. That was it. Moment. Yeah, I just caught that moment.
Pretty amazing. So, your 3 shoes that you're rotating right now, 3 pairs of shoes, and then after that, your favorite 5 shoes of all time.
Okay.
So what's in your rotation right now?
Let me see. I got a pair. Okay, so I got the red Air Max 1 sitting over there.
Okay.
I got the blue Air Max 1 sitting over there.
Air Max 1s?
Yeah, the 87s.
Oh, I love those shoes, man.
And then, because they're all over the fucking house. And then I got a pair of Flyknit sitting over there. Flyknit racers sitting over there in the corner.
Dope.
Gotcha. And now
And
you're
then
top
top
5.
5. Jordan 1s. White, the Chicago pair, so the white, red, and black. The original colorway, not that black toe shit. Neon Air Max 95s, which ironically I've never owned. I've never owned a pair of Neon Air Max 95s, but they're supposed to be coming out soon.
Word.
So hopefully I can grab a pair. The Jordan 3, either the white cement or the black cement. Well, so I mean, I've got a pair of what do I have in here? I mean, I just like classic stuff at this point because I've been trying to wear shoes that don't look crazy if I look in a picture 5 years from now.
Word.
And like shoes and clothes. So I'm not like, yo, what was I on when I was wearing that all leather biker outfit? You know what I'm saying?
The Eddie Murphy 87 outfit.
Yeah. Like my piping on my pants. You know what I mean?
Cross embroidery or your
shit. Right. Mad holes or whatever. Yeah, Jordan 1s, Jordan 3s, Air Max 95s, Converse Chuck Taylor lows, black.
Ooh.
And then just to freak it, I'd probably say I have a pair of Jordan 8s. They're not my favorite, but it's just a pair. It was my first pair of Jordans I bought with my own money. I didn't buy a pair of Jordans until I was 20 years old. When I worked at Dick's Sporting Goods. So yeah, that was the first pair I bought with my own money. And it's still in my closet. I probably can't wear them, but it's a pair of white and red Jordan 8s.
Oh, word. You talked about Nike Talk a lot. You have a favorite memory or favorite moment from those days?
Man, them fools. There's so many. There's so many. I mean, it was just so many instances of like wild shit that we were doing. And I look back and like we were just young dudes and young kids, like meeting up, sneaker shit, like having fun at ESPN Zone. Being able to roast people. I think the best roast that I ever was on the receiving end from, I had before my hair started really going, I had a big forehead and somebody called me Toupee Fiasco. Somebody called me Toupee Fiasco. Just like the roast and like the inside jokes and like all that shit. And like I'm still cool with a lot of dudes that I met online that I've met in real life now, and we're friends and close friends and good guys. So, the thing that's always stood out is just like the amount of cool people that I've met over the last it's almost 20 years now. So yeah, that's it. And like I said, the jokes and just learning how to dress, being ahead of Ron, so I don't wear baggy clothes when everybody's switching to slim.
I was trying to get a control of it, bro.
I'm saying, learn it, my man, learn about Japanese denim and all that stuff. And,
word,
all the stuff that, you just kind of pick up and being ahead of the curve and trying to stay fresh. I wish I could say it meant more to me these days, but, I still can put something together if I need to. But yeah, just learning how to have your own identity and have your own style. Even as the trends were changing and everybody started, as I like to say, dressing like the internet, dressing like people you see on Instagram and being able to be like, oh yeah, that's a fit Tommie can get off. So yeah, that's really it, man. Just Really, it's just the jokes, mad references, and arguments and flame wars about rap music and all kinds of shit. So,
Word.
yeah.
So Ronald, you have a favorite Towson moment while y'all were at school?
I remember you specific. Yo, I had a lot of fun doing stuff in the electronic media and film department. A lot of voiceover stuff that we did. I remember one time you were trying to book Wale or some shit like that, and he went crazy on you because
oh man,
the price was too high.
Okay, so we had a weird relationship. So, and this has like followed me all my adult life. Wale and I have been like intertwined. Because one, I found out we share the same birthday, which is really wild. Wow. Yeah, we share the same.
Wale's a Virgo?
Yes, September 21st.
This all makes sense.
Yeah.
Bro.
So he was on Nike Talk. I met him through some friends of theirs. He's a big sneaker dude. I knew the guy that really got him hooked on like the Nike SBs and the rarer quick strike Nikes and stuff like that. This dude named Dan. So we all go to meet. I shake his hand. We exchange information. We're talking online through AOL. He would send me music, but in the traditional Wale kind of thing. If
is this Uptown Romas?
This is around the this is this is early stuff.
Yeah,
I haven't listened to that song in a long time, man.
Yeah. And he would send me stuff, and at the time, even though, like I said, I lived in Maryland and I'm from that area, I didn't really rock with go-go. Ironically, I didn't like go-go until I moved to New York.
Wow.
Pots and pan music. That's what I call it.
Yeah, pots and pan music. That's what I used to call it. And they used to get so mad at me. And I told him, like, I don't really like this. But it's okay. Like, I don't have to.
Yeah, it's not for me.
Right. But in traditional Wale fashion, if you tell him you don't like his music, and especially young Wale, it was just like a thing.
Word.
And I would tell him, like, hey, not everybody likes the music. Not everybody likes Stevie Wonder's music, but it's still Stevie Wonder. Like, you're gonna be all right, And so he just didn't like it, and I was an antagonist, antagonist online, and I would post memes and all kinds of stuff. And
oh man,
it just turned into a big back and forth. Yeah, there's a lot there, but I mean, I can honestly say in the last few years, it's been no issue. I pieced it up with him. On BBM.
Wow.
Whoa. That's how far it goes back. That's back. But I'll leave him alone now. I don't mess with him at all. I'm glad to see that he's doing what he always set out to do. And
for sure, man.
He's one of those guys from the area that, didn't have much music on the map nationally before. He was one of those guys that just said, I'm just gonna break through that wall. So I got nothing but respect and admiration for that persistence that he put forth. So yeah, man, that was a wild time. That was the height of Nike Talk stuff.
Yeah, that was crazy because I was interning at XM, and it was right around the time where his mixtape started to hit, and then Sirius XM was starting to. They're like, oh, okay, this man's making moves. And I'd hear about him coming up from time to time, but yeah, that was a crazy time.
So I remember the first time. So Ronald introduced me to Wale's music. The first time he played it, we were going to social study, so we were riding to 500, and first song that he played was the Smile remix, Lily Allen's. He put his verses on there.
Man.
So once I heard that, I was like, this kid's got something. And that was the song that I kept running back to.
Rest in peace, social studies.
Yeah, shout out to AJ and Mike in social studies.
AJ has his own line now.
Yeah, I saw that.
That's crazy. I saw that.
Yeah, shout out to those guys. Shout out to Pit Crew as well.
Yeah, AJ pushed my clothing line like crazy. Like I would put my shirts down. I would leave, And I call him. He like, yo, they all sold out. I'm like, what? What did you say to these people? He's like, yo, they like good material, man. They like it. So
Yeah.
he was like,
I realized later on that AJ was just high and he was just chilling.
Right.
Like I just realized that's all. AJ just wanted to make some money and relax. And do his thing, man.
I didn't realize that his temperament was brought on by marijuana. I
Yeah.
didn't know that. If you think about how he spoke, it's like, yeah.
Yeah,
cool.
exactly. That's exactly it, man. That's exactly
really it. So we have this thing that we do called the Branded 10, where we basically get every guest to give 10 songs that either define them, that they're currently listening to, that kind of embody who they are as people. I'm not going to put you on the spot for 10 songs, but if you could give us like 4 or 5 songs, and then we'll get a list from you later on. Or if you want to give us 10. I mean, you may be able to fire them off. But
let me see. So I've been making a quarantine playlist.
Oh, okay.
Just like stuff that I've been trying to keep myself in a good mood for.
Okay.
And for the most part, it's been like 70s soul,
dope,
like boogie and disco shit. So what's in here? This Place Hotel by the Jacksons, Baby Me Mine by Michael Jackson, Chicago by Roy Ayers, Made Men by Migos. I heard that song the other day, and I was like, that's a jam. Let's see, what else is in here? Then I've been listening to a lot of like, Griselda stuff. So I like Versace off of West Side Gun's album.
Produced by Jay Versace.
Right.
Produced by Jay Versace. And then honestly, man, just been the mid-90s hip hop stuff. A lot of Pete Rock, a lot of Mobb Deep lately. It changes. It depends on what I'm doing. It depends on what I'm around, who I'm around.
Yeah, for sure.
Like I can't really listen to, a lot of the stuff around my kids that I used to listen to when I wasn't around my kids.
Yeah.
So it really changes. Like, but I try to listen to stuff that, I grew up on, and my wife the same way. We try to listen to stuff we grew up on, or listen to at least stuff that's gonna put a memory. So like my 7-year-old, one of his favorite songs is like Atomic Dog by George Clinton.
Really?
Dope.
You know what I mean?
Oh, that's so dope, man.
Yeah. And like my youngest like sings like David Bowie, like Ground Control to Major Tom, like, so like, we just listen to everything up in here, and I cannot honestly give you a list of 10 anything because it changes week to week.
Right.
Week to week.
That's dope.
So what do you feel is your next step as far as being a photographer? Is there something that you're looking forward to, or something that you want to do in your career?
So one of the things that I had planned before the shutdown was to go over to the UK and shoot something for a major soccer team over there, doing some work. I've been trying to get into the branded space, shooting stuff for commercial brands, behind the scenes, parties, events, and really emerging into there, because obviously being in New York, like a lot of the work is there. So before the shutdown, like I had done some stuff for Converse, done some stuff for Oakley, just working with a lot of ad agencies to cover different events. I want to shoot an NBA game.
Dope.
I definitely want to do that soon. If God willing that everything opens back up, but just really get into the sport photography and lifestyle photography, working with a few athletes, and covering their lives and their families, and the way that they move. I want to be able to capture that stuff and put it off as a way of normalizing them, like I said before, because they're all normal people. They just happen to get paid very well to do what they do. But kind of removing that wall of celebrity, and just showing how normal people really are, and how similar everybody really is. So that's really it, man. Just pushing everything forward. hopefully this shutdown ends and we can get back to some sense of normalcy, and I can get back to doing what I do and just keep learning, man. Just keep learning.
For sure.
Thanks.
Any partner advice for anybody that's looking to get into photography as far as, being a creative in general?
Well, whatever it is, just do it in some form every day. And be okay with losing, be okay with failing, and be okay with having to start over. But the main thing is to just, like Ron was saying, that he writes every day. Just do whatever you want to do in some form every day. If you're a photographer, pick up your phone. I mean, these iPhones, these Androids, the cameras are better than most of the stuff that we were shooting on the last decade.
For sure.
Like, you don't need a $5,000 rig to make shit happen anymore. And honestly,
movies
movies are shot on it, and brands look for that stuff. Brands aren't looking for the traditional thing. And really, it's just about getting the information. It's a cycle of 3 that I learned recently. It's information, imitation, and innovation. And, you learn it, then you see somebody that you want to be like until you get your style and your technical sense down. And then ultimately you make your own shit. And, I'm trying to go from the imitation to the innovation phase myself, even 12 years down the line. So, you just have to keep at it. And even though you might get frustrated, it comes from, you have to understand and realize where it's coming from.
Word.
And hopefully it's coming from a place of wanting to make yourself better.
Word.
So, where can people see your stuff? Where can they read your tweets? Where can they find you on social media?
So my site is tommiebattle.com. It's TOMMIE battle, BATTLE.com. My Instagram account is Tommie, TOMMIE.jpg.jpg. And that's my Instagram. And then on Twitter, I'm at Boney Starks, BONEYSTARKS. And that's where I am. But yeah, that's me, guys.
For sure. What about you, Ronald?
Who is Ron James everywhere? Twitter, Instagram. I don't really do much on Twitter, but Instagram I'm a lot more present. I do the quarantine dream 60-second sort of motivational videos during this whole quarantine thing. Thank you for everybody that's giving the nice comments about it, by the way. I got one coming Mondays and Fridays. It's a lot to edit in Premiere, but I try to do it. I'm learning. I've learned to do use Premiere a little bit in the quarantine. And
Tommie, feel free to join in this, but since he's getting a lot of positive comments, I'm specifically going to find these videos and leave negative ones under it, so I can be one person to
shit emojis and shit.
I got you.
Just whack me.
Garbage can emoji. Thumbs down.
But yeah, man, as far as the podcast, branded podcast, BRNDD podcast.com, you can check out the website. All the episodes are going up there. We'll find out some other cool things to start putting up there as well. Also on social media, it's branded podcast on all the different platforms you want to follow it on. And personally, Cotion Smooth, so COTTEONSMOOTH, Instagram, Twitter. Instagram, I try and post my work on there when I can. I'll throw a couple things up this week as far as, things that I can share. So if you want to check out, some design work, definitely hit me up there. Also do, at this point, nightly, movie club thing, DCOmovieclub.com. So if you guys are looking for movie recommendations, want to do like a virtual watch party if you miss movie theaters, you can do that as well. But just wanted to, provide some more inspiration for you guys. Hopefully this podcast helps you out, especially during these times right now. Hopefully you find some creative inspiration and continue to, chase your creative spaces and creative paths, because I think it's really important, especially in times like right now.
Yeah. That's so sad.
Yeah, man. But, I think that's it. Appreciate you, sitting down with us, Tommie.
Yeah, seriously, man. Thank you for coming on. We appreciate it, man.
Thank you both for having me. And anytime you guys want to talk, hit me up. you know. But yeah, you guys are doing great work, so I appreciate you having me as a guest.
Sure,
Thanks,
man.
man. Appreciate it.